This is From Courtroom to Carline, the podcast where we discuss life as a lawyer and a parent.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Rick.
Your hosts and partners both in the courtroom and in parenting.
Join us as we navigate the fascinating worlds of law and family life.
Now, this is not legal advice, but in every episode, From Courtroom to Carline is a delightful blend of legal insight and parenting hilarity. Get
ready for a roller coaster ride where law meets love and where the gavel meets the Carline. Welcome to another episode of From Courtroom to Carline, a legal parenting podcast. Today on the show, we've got attorney Jeremy Bailie. He is an attorney here in St. Petersburg. He practices primarily constitutional law and appellate law. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Welcome.
All right, so Jeremy, first thing I got to ask you about is the socks. I've noticed you've got some very unique socks that you chose to wear today. Tell me about that.
Father's Day gift. I think my kids thought that I would forget about them if in the minutes that I'm away from them. So, so I decided to pull them out and represent the whole crew here today.
I love it.
Yeah, awesome. I'm always trying to think of ways that I can embarrass our older one. Absolutely. And I think, wearing the shirt with his face on it and showing up to pick up one day, I think that's going to be in the cards. So
I think they were trying to do like a reverse, like psychological thing on me, right? Like embarrass me by wearing the socks. And I was like, then I just pull it out and go with it. So
real quick before we get into what you do, because it just triggered my memory. We were doing drop off the other day in Carline, and obviously Christmas songs are on. So one comes on that I'm like jamming out to. I turn it up. Our oldest son's like, turn that down. As we're going through Carline, I was like, you're 8. Are we at that point yet? But I listened to him. I turned it down, and we just did drop off. But it's like, my baby.
Being embarrassed so quick.
Yes.
I know. I was wondering when it would come, the day where I embarrassed them. I don't want to say it was probably second grade. I think that was it. It was second grade.
I think that's our oldest is in first grade, and it definitely depends on the situation, right? Because if she's around her friends, then she's obviously too cool to be talking to her dad or give her dad a hug, at drop off, right? But then you've got the little one that's like clinging for dear life,
Yeah.
So you tend to learn to appreciate those moments while they're there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit what you do for your law firm. As I mentioned, it was appellate law, constitutional law. So sort of just give us a broad overall perspective of a day in the life of the law that you practice.
A day in the life involves probably like 70% parenting and 30% lawyering, just trying to keep my head above water. I would say my practice is probably split between cases that are revenue positive and cases that are why I went to law school to practice law. I obviously love helping people, love helping small businesses in the area, love doing all that. And that's obviously what my career is. But my passion really is some of those more nuanced or constitutional issues that they don't make any money. They're usually pro bono, right? And but it's why I went to law school. It's helping people taking on maybe unique cases or cases that have kind of a constitutional angle to it, and I love doing that.
Before we get into the types of cases that you do, how did you start at the firm?
So I started there as a law clerk back the summer before my second year of law school. I first generation lawyer, so I didn't really know kind of how getting hired at a law firm worked. So people be saying acronyms and throwing out words and like doing interviews, and I didn't know I was supposed to sign up. I didn't know that this whole process, and people are kind of in the spring semester before that summer, everyone's telling me all their jobs they got lined up, and I'm like, where was that list? Like, where was that bucket? I totally missed the boat. So talked to one of my professors, and she's like, yeah, you're supposed to apply, like 6 months ago. You're like totally out of luck, but let me help you out. So she knew some folks at the firm, reached out and said, there's this guy, clearly doesn't know what he's doing, but he's a good candidate, take a look at him. So, and at the time the firm had just broken off from a larger firm. They were renting a very small space. Actually, the law clerk office was just where the printer was at, right? And so, people visited me all the time. It was great. I got to meet everybody all the time. But yeah, so started there. There was, I think, 4 lawyers at the time. And then they had a law clerk that just got thrown into it and kind of see what happens.
That's funny. That just reminded me of an old skit from Saturday Night Live, The Copy Guy. You ever seen that before?
I haven't seen that one, no.
It was with Rob Schneider.
Okay.
And he was just this awkward character that when people would go and need to make copies, he was there like the entire
that would be
day.
Yeah, that would be me.
So,
yeah.
Go check it out. It is funny.
I'll check that out.
It's a good skit. So
I mean that is basically what happened, right? Like
Yeah.
people would come in there and it was just, small tiny room, copier, and then just like IKEA desk, right? And I'd come in, I'd spin around in my chair and hi,
But
you
what
here
a
for me?
great-
Oh, you're not here for me? Here for the copier? Okay.
What a great way to, meet people, though. It's like you're forced to meet
They were
them
forced to
and-
interact with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they would never come talk to the law clerk, but for the fact that I just
Exactly.
like planted myself where they needed to be. So
How do people typically find your firm in order to hire you guys to do these types of cases?
that's a great question. I don't really know. I get emails from people all the time. I don't really advertise for it. Otherwise, people just flood your inbox, with wanting free legal help. A lot of times it's, they've seen some case or they've heard some, read something with my name on it and they have a similar case and want to follow on. So I, talk to them, learn about their situation and see if it's something I can help out with.
Can you tell us some memorable cases that you've had?
I guess recently, like still going on or like in the past?
Whatever you think is interesting that our listeners would want to hear about.
Probably very little that's interesting. I guess one that comes to mind is kind of a hot topic in the law right now is books in libraries, right? As parents, I'm sure you have the same kind of concern, right? That kids, are going to walk in the library, grab a book, and you have no idea who's vetted this book, right? What's the content? My kind of as a side story, my wife and I bought some books for our son, and we got them, and I guess they were AI generated books now that they're doing for kids, where they'll just spit out the content, right? And so that's a little scary, right? Because then it's I'm sure there's a real human that looked at it at some point, but you have no idea what this algorithm, right, what content they're putting out there. So so that's obviously a concern for parents. And I represent some folks out in Wyoming who were concerned with their what was going on in their local library. They ended up participating with the local community that was very adamant about the types of books they wanted in the children's section. Ultimately the local library board removed the library director because she was not kind of agreeing to what the library board wanted her to do. And so the library director sued my clients, the 3 just normal individuals.
Wow.
And kind of brought all these constitutional claims, really just, targeting them for going down to their local library board and expressing their First Amendment rights about what they thought should be in the local library. So kind of crazy, right? You don't really kind of think about that happening about, if I as a parent or we as parents, had gone down to our local library and expressed our views and then get sued, right? It's just, it's shocking.
Do you know how they found you? I mean, this is all very interesting to me because it's very outside of what we do, but do you know how they came across a firm in Florida?
Yeah, so I had done work with kind of in that space, right?
Yeah.
With defamation, with, public interest litigation, and they'd seen my name on that and then reached out and said, hey, can you help? I think they called pretty much anybody who has ever done any constitutional work, right, to get help, and they just were looking for anybody, so.
That's interesting because I remember you telling me a story about, when you were first starting out, you took on a case where, no one would take, everyone was, downplaying the chances of succeeding, and you faced hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. You were getting denied left and right, but eventually it made its way all the way up to the Supreme Court.
And I still lost.
You still lost, but you got a very notable dissent from Justice Clarence Thomas. So could you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so that case was another constitutional type case. DJ Kennedy, his ministry down in South Florida, very prominent pastor, theologian, right? Wrote and spoke a lot. There was a program where he was trying to get into a grant fund program with Amazon, and at the time Amazon had deferred kind of its application process to the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they had designated his ministry as a hate group because of his teachings about homosexuality and gender and the Bible and marriage and things like that. So he was barred from the program. So suit was filed. Basically, there's a variety of claims against both Amazon and the SPLC, but really the heart of it was, can an organization like the SPLC or Amazon, can they designate a church, right, or a pastor like him as a hate group, right, just because they hold to the biblical views on marriage? So lost in the district court, won at the 11th Circuit, lost in the 11th Circuit. I mean, it was losses all the way down, and then did a petition for writ of cert to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I'm sure you guys know this, but for your listeners, so when you file a petition for writ of cert, the other side doesn't have to file a response, right? Because the chances of the Supreme Court taking your case are so very low, right? So most people, they waive the response. Well, then the Supreme Court called for a response, and then you're like, oh, this thing might have some legs to it. And then they responded. We get to file a reply, and then we had some other other Christian organizations that just kind of supported our cause. They were filing amicus briefs saying that this was a case the court should look at. And then the court lists each case on a conference, right? They have these conferences. They list all the cases that they're going to consider that day, and then they have, these order lists that come out where it's basically like, one case accepted, 100 cases denied, right? And so then we got listed for the first conference, and they got listed again for a second conference and a third conference. And I think it might have gone up to like 6 conferences, like 6 times they're sitting around. So you keep thinking like, is this the one? Is this the one? And then unfortunately they declined. They declined to grant cert on that one, but Justice Thomas wrote an opinion dissenting from that decision, and explained why he thought what the SPLC had done was actionable, right? And why the ministry should have been able to bring its claims, because in his view, right, labeling someone a hate group and taking those actions against them was something that the law shouldn't protect. So still lost, right? Still lost, but
still a small win. We take the wins where we can get them.
Small parting gift on the way out the door. So,
but because you got that dissent, that opened some doors after that. With your firm and maybe some notable clients and some other cases that you're now involved in. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So I think that's one example. Yeah, of people who saw, who read that and said, yeah, that's we agree with that. That should be. That should have been the right result, and then then they Google my name, and that's how they find me.
Fantastic. Now, did you have to do any oral arguments for that case?
Nope, that's just on the briefs. So you get just a few pages of writing, not very long at all, and then they you actually do it. It's very old school. You have to actually print out the briefs and mail them to the court. You got to do 40 copies. So
wow.
So literally everybody gets a copy, and then there's only a handful of printers that handle Supreme Court printing, because it's very particular about what the pages have to be on, what covers have to be there, all these requirements. So you kind of have to find a printer that's willing to work with you, and they kind of do it on a short schedule, and they proofread everything. And then they send you a courtesy copy, so you get to keep your own, your copy of what was filed. So they're sitting on my shelf along with Justice Thomas's, opinion. So
Wow. What advice would you give to a student in law school that wants to maybe pursue something in constitutional law? What do you think helped prepare you for what you're doing now?
Well, I think one thing would be I still work with the moot court program at Stetson. Most of constitutional law is done with writing, right? Writing, and occasionally you get an oral argument, right, with a judge or a panel of judges, but the vast majority of it is done based on your written work product. And I think that law review is a big example of that, but it doesn't really give you the practical the feel of having an argument, having an issue, having a case, and having to kind of come up with the legal theory, right? Come up with the strategy or the argument that you're going to then write that brief on. And I think that's what moot court really does prepare students for. And then obviously the oral argument portion too, where you get an opportunity to stay on your feet and then try to defend, what that position is. And to me, that's the best practice you can have for it.
Just real quick, I have a lot of respect for people that were on moot court. So I did trial team. And I have a lot of respect for trial team as well. But what I will say is moot court, I feel like you have to be more on your knowledge and argument of the law. Whereas, thinking of trial team and being a criminal lawyer and doing criminal trials, I'll have clients that say, "Oh, can't we just do a bench trial with the judge? Like, he'll understand." And it's like, no,
nope,
we want to be able
to
appeal to the emotions of the jury.
Absolutely.
Rather than having to make a legal argument to a judge who's going to be more well-versed in the law and see these types of cases all the time. So I think it's great advice, to join moot court, because you really get to learn how to argue persuasively, not only orally, but in writing when you're trying to make your point to the court.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of respect for trial team because I think it teaches you, and I never did it, but I think it teaches you to think quickly.
Yeah.
Right? And so my experience in the trial, which is in the trial court, is that things just happen so fast, right? And you don't really realize how typically in a trial you've got like 4 different things going on, right? You're trying to like listen to what opposing counsel is trying to say. You're trying to figure out what you're going to say next. You're trying to figure out what the judge is doing. You're trying to make sure the jury is still somewhat engaged, right? I mean, there's just so many moving pieces. I think trial team really prepares you for that fast pace, and I think that's but you're right, it's very different from the moot court style, which is very much you get 4 weeks to write a brief, right? You don't have anybody jumping on you or jumping up and down and objecting. So it's a different pace, but different skills.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that you're still involved with moot court at Stetson, and so you're a coach currently, correct?
Yeah, so I coach 2 teams. I coach one in the fall, one in the spring. I coach there's a competition in Chicago. It's basically the Illinois Appellate Lawyers Association. Well, that is what it is, the Illinois Appellate Lawyers Association. There's about 24, 25 teams that come from all over the country, compete on a weekend in Chicago. It's unique because it's, my wife will call it Nerd Fest, right? Bunch of obviously the students are there for the educational experience and the practice, and then a bunch of people like me who are just nerds, and we show up. So that's what we do with our weekends, and then the Illinois Appellate Court judges actually sit for the final rounds and judge the students. So the students have an opportunity to, even while in law school, make an argument to real sitting, appellate court judges and justices and get to feel what that's like. So it's an incredible experience for them.
Nice. So obviously our kids go to the same school, and I know that your wife just started coaching the girls' high school varsity soccer team.
Yeah, she's the assistant coach there and loves it. Absolutely loves it.
So obviously you're coaching moot court. She's doing the soccer, which I think it's great that you guys have your own thing to focus on. How does that come into play in raising your kids? How do you guys work that out?
So we actually we're very scheduled on everything. Being, at least for my team with my coaching, I get to somewhat organize my schedule, right? So I'll try to organize it around her practices because her practices are a little more hard to schedule, right? You can't practice at 8 o'clock at night, right? And there's a lot more people involved. We actually have a shared calendar that is also my work calendar. So pretty much everyone in my office knows everything that's going on in my life, right? Every doctor's appointment, every dentist appointment, one of my colleagues was joking with me the other day, because like I would come in the office and he'd be like, "Hey, how's the dentist?" Right? Like you just kind of have to put everything out there so that everybody knows, both on, you know, people that I work with and also my wife, and, you know, just she puts her stuff on there, so just everybody knows kind of if there's a space on the calendar, right? You know, there's not something else floating out there that's got to be scheduled during that time. So we are very scheduled in order to kind of keep things going.
And I give Jenna a lot of credit. So she's very good about putting things in the calendar. Me, I feel like if it's a Monday through Friday sort of event, I'll put it in the calendar. But she also includes things that we're doing on the weekend, whether it's a soccer game or, you know, this event for the kids or that event. And so, for example, my buddy's Christmas party, that's this Saturday. I didn't put that in the calendar. She's like, "Why isn't that in the calendar?"
Doesn't
It's
exist.
like, well,
It's on the calendar.
Exactly.
it's a Saturday evening. Like, what else are we going to be doing? But, you
Yeah.
know, she's right, because, you know, we could forget about it. You know, we could get caught up in whatever we're doing, you know, with the kids or that day and just totally blank, and we don't
Yep.
get the notification about
Exactly.
it, and
Yep.
now it's gone. you
Yeah,
know?
we schedule car wash. I mean, like
Yeah.
anything that needs to be done, right? We schedule it on the calendar. Because you're right. I mean, with anytime you have kids and you're trying to both, you know, run the family business and also, you know, do anything else outside of the house, you just have to kind of keep that schedule in place.
Yes,
So,
we have school pictures, school events. I mean, anything for our kids, because we obviously try to make those. But
Yep.
we are definitely big calendar people.
my
as
wife's
well.
very good about that, about reminding me about what outfits, right?
Yep,
Like, you
yep.
know, if it's like soccer shots day, I gotta
Yep.
make sure to get the soccer shots outfit out. Or if it's school picture day, like you can't send them in there, you know, pizza stained, shirt. It's got to be the fresh one, right?
Yes.
So,
Especially with the holidays coming up and all the dress down days that they have.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
That paper that comes home with the
Yep.
schedule of, you know, what day is this particular theme. I mean, that's gold, because I know our oldest gets upset when he doesn't have
Doesn't
the
have
clothes
the-
that he needs to fit in with
Yep.
the rest of his friends. And, you know, those little things become so important, and you do a great job of making sure we're on top of that. So.
the one time that my wife left me in charge of that, I forget what was going on, but for whatever reason, I was in charge of calendaring, and I didn't. And it was like Tuesday night at like 8 o'clock at night, and our oldest comes down and is like, you know, tomorrow's dressed like a cow day. Where's my cow costume? I'm like, Amazon 3 days ago, we would have been fine, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately, my wife stepped in and fixed that. But yeah, without it being on the calendar, you know, and I of course forgot to put it on the calendar, but you know, then forgot that it was dressed like a cow day. So.
Jeremy, when you're not in, you know, full-time dad mode, not that that's even a thing, but
what is that? What does that look like?
right. But what do you, if you had your moment, if you have a, you know, moment to yourself, what do you like to do to kind of wind down and have that time?
Yeah. So my wife and I are very like outdoor activity type people. Especially this time of year when it's nice outside,
Yes.
you know, we'll like drop the kids off and like we'd play pickleball
Oh,
in
nice.
our neighborhood. She and I actually met playing soccer, so we would, you know, go out and you know, we played on teams together and stuff, and co-ed teams. So typically something outdoors like that, go on a bike ride, go rollerblading, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's probably a pretty regular occurrence. People see me rollerblading in the neighborhood, being goofy with my kids, and you know, it's just part of being a dad.
That makes so much sense, because, you know, obviously our kids play soccer together at their
Yeah.
school, and yeah, I knew your wife coached soccer, so I expected her to, you know, have skill when she's out there helping out. But then when you came later, you also had some serious skills, and I was very surprised. I was like, oh, wait a minute, he's actually pretty good too. Like, it's not just her. So
We wish it was genetic. I think our oldest has zero interest in playing soccer, right? Like, she comes out on Saturdays because that's where we're at
Yeah.
on Saturday mornings. But she doesn't like getting touched. She doesn't like getting sweaty. She doesn't like getting dirty. Very much like what my wife and I did. Like, that's all you do in soccer.
That is too funny.
So yeah, but we're still hoping for one soccer player out of
Yes.
3, right?
Just maybe not her.
That's not gonna be her. Not even a little bit.
Are you reading any books or podcasts recently? Listening to any podcasts, reading any books?
Mostly legal stuff. Law Talk is one of my favorites. Just basically just describing what legal stuff is going on. Mostly pretty nerdy constitutional stuff. So not all terribly interesting. But yeah, that's probably as far as books, Death on a Friday Afternoon. It's actually an Easter book, but I kind of was going through my books and started that one. So those are my two kind of things that when I have a minute, will be that'll pick up.
Nice.
I know originally you're not from Florida. You're from up north, right?
My wife is. So I was born and raised in Pensacola.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm Florida through and through. My wife is from a very, very small town in western New York called Frewsburg. Like if all the kids are home from Christmas, they might have like 1,000 people in town.
Wow.
But it's a really, really cool town. I love it. I want to be there more than she does. I love the small town. My sister-in-law owns an ice cream store in town that's only open during the summertime. So my kids love going up there in the summer and just eating as much ice cream as humanly possible. But it's just fun, right? I mean, they've got just a really cute small town America vibe, where it's safe and everybody knows everybody, and you can, just kind of be outdoors and have fun without worrying about, whether there's going to be traffic, or something like that. So,
what are your goals in terms of, your firm, family life within the next 5 to 10 years? Where would you like to kind of see yourself?
I think right where I'm at. My wife and I, we recently moved into, or I say recently, we keep saying that, although it's probably been 2 years now. We're slowly but surely kind of turning the house into what we want to do, remodeling things, fixing things, replacing things like that. But we really do want it to be our forever home. And then I love my firm. I love people I practice with. I think it's some of the greatest lawyers in the area, greatest people. It's the kind of people that you don't feel like you're working, right, when you go to spend time in the office. One of the things that I think we missed when everybody was fully remote was just those hallway conversations. Just kind of walk in the door, you pass someone's office, you pop in, right? I love people I work with, and then really just it's such a great place. Just because it's given me the opportunity to be with my kids more, right? And I'm more often dressed down, going to pumpkin patches and, silly kid stuff and love it, right? I love that I can do drop-off and pickups with the kids and, enjoy that time with them, even though sometimes it's the most aggravating part of the day when, like, the three of them are all, like, just absolutely going at it in the back seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talk about how someday the back seat will be completely empty, and you try to appreciate what it is now.
Absolutely.
That thought crosses our minds on a daily basis, because with the three boys, they fight, and it's so stressful and chaotic, and it causes us to raise our voice. But one day there's not going to be any fighting. Yeah. And there's and it's going to be completely different. So you always have to take a step back, put that into perspective, and it sort of gives you just a sense of, okay, it's going to be okay, calm down, like, appreciate the moment. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. On a daily basis, we think about that.
That really hit us for the first, or at least me, for the first time this year, because this is the first year all three of our kids are in school. And so usually we would do drop off. We still had, one tag along, which it's just different, right? You're like, you're not like dropping the kids off and then like breathing, right? Like, you're just like continuous in parent mode. So this year, I remember the first couple of weeks, we dropped all three kids off, and you're kind of like, wow, like, what do I do with myself? Like, there's nobody back there. Like, it's quiet. Like, I can listen to any song that I want. Like, no one's yelling at me to change it. So that was probably one of the worst things that I ever did with the kids, but in a good way, was that, we have CarPlay, right? And so teaching them that you can say, hey, Siri, and then pick a song, So we have a very eclectic music choice on the, like, I've got everything from, like, the wheels on the bus.
Shuffling all songs.
Oh, no.
And there goes Siri.
There goes Siri. See, Siri's trained. She knows what's going on. So yeah, we have, it's those moments, right? You enjoy those times, but also it can be super chaotic.
Oh, and Siri still wants to play.
Now we get to find out what's on your playlist. It's so great that you are at a firm that values family and understands how important it is to be a present, father figure for your kids. So I'm glad that you found your home there. But I kind of want to shift gears to, back to the work life. And through your firm, you've actually been able to represent some pretty notable clients and still currently. So could you tell us or maybe give us an example of someone that our listeners might recognize?
Yeah. So, and I will, but just kind of what you said first is that is really the one of the prominent things about our firm is that almost all of my partners have kids or young kids.
Nice,
We're kind of all the same stage of life. It's not uncommon for you to see a kid in the office, right? Like someone's either home sick from school or like you're taking them to a dentist appointment or something. Like it's just, I got a box of toys in my office, right? And so people's kids will come in all the time, But what I think is really unique is that it doesn't take away from the legal work that we do, and all of my partners have been very successful representing really prominent people or having, really high profile cases. But I don't think a lot of people don't see that, behind the scenes, there's real people, real kids, right now the firm has the opportunity to represent President Trump in one of his cases down in South Florida. And, getting the opportunity to do really meaningful, very, very, and I think incredibly fun legal work, right? But it's never taken away from the culture of the firm, right? Which has always been to be family focused, right? To do really good legal work, right? And do it at a high level, but also still be, real humans and real families at the same time.
That's awesome. Have you gotten to meet President Trump?
So there's been phone calls for sure. So we got, my wife and I actually got to go to the inauguration, went to the election night party. The firm it's just been really cool to be a part of that at the firm. It's obviously a high profile case. We've had, I think, 3 appeals that we've gotten to do during that process. And, it's just cool to be a part of it. Yeah.
That is very cool.
Fantastic. So other than the soccer, and I think you mentioned rollerblading, is there anything else that you do to keep your mind and body healthy?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a lot. So that's good.
My wife is the exercise guru. So we have like a world-class gym, and she exercises all the time. Is really good at working out. She encourages me to be better, and I need to be better. Sure. But my usually at the end of the day, I am, I'm so tired. I just want to, sit on the couch and not go downstairs and work out. But she's far more disciplined than I am about, getting those workouts in and doing all that. So probably something I should put on my New Year's resolution list is, being better about that.
Real quick, we just got a pull-up bar at a garage sale in our neighborhood. So we have the kids, hanging on it, trying to do pull-ups. I can kind of do one if I jump and give myself a start. And as I was, scrolling yesterday on Instagram, I see Kennedy, he's probably 7 years old doing pull-ups. So I showed our 8-year-old, I said, look at this guy doing pull-ups.
You really see there's no excuse.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, see, we gotta keep up with that.
Yeah. So I guess I'll lock in this embarrassment. We were, it was one of those things where you're sitting around with the kids on a Saturday doing nothing, we're hanging out. And I think she'd either just come up from working out or just going to work out or whatever. And our son, who, is like, it's his whole world, right? I mean, like if it's ever like, who do you love more, mom or your dad? Like before the words are out of my mouth, he's like, mom, like obviously, like what do you you're not even a close second. He like asks about, who's stronger, mom or your daddy, right? And of course I'm like, dad, obviously. So she challenged me into a push-up competition, which she then proceeded to absolutely smoke me at in front of our kids. So yeah, I've learned not to do those competitions anymore. Yes. I just rest on my laurels and pretend like I could do it if I needed to, But yeah, I don't do those competitions anymore.
Well, that's awesome that they have a strong mom.
Yeah, and if there was anything that was motivating for you to, work out, that would certainly be
that motivating. Would certainly be. It should have been the thing that did it. Yeah, I think I just resigned myself to just defeat and just went the other direction. I don't know.
Well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. So one last time, why don't you give our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, my firm is Weber, Crabb Wein. We're right here in St. Pete.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Jeremy. Stay tuned because we still have our segment on what happened to Florida Man.
So we're back for our segment on what happened to Florida Man, and this season we're just changing it up a little bit. So we are focusing on expanding the personal injury side of our firm. So we thought it would be interesting to do a story that deals with personal injury. And in this case, it's from Broward County, where a jury awarded $800,000 in damages to a 4-year-old who was burned by a McDonald's chicken nugget. Apparently, they had gone through the drive-thru. The mom gave the Happy Meal to the child in the back, and the chicken nugget fell between the leg and the car seat of the child and ended up giving the child second-degree burns. Throughout the process, it was believed to be that the chicken nugget was 200 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure how it would have gotten that hot. Maybe it just came out of the fryer and they were able to put it right in the Happy Meal bag and the child ended up getting it. But a jury, this was back in 2023, ended up awarding the $800,000. $400,000 was for past damages and $400,000 was for future damages. So kind of similar to the hot coffee, McDonald's incident. McDonald's just can't seem to get away from the burns. Jeremy, how would you feel if one of your children was burned by a chicken nugget?
I think my wife had a lot of questions about why I was taking my kids to get chicken nuggets from McDonald's. That would be, that's scary for sure.
I think Jenna would blame me and not McDonald's if that were to happen to our family.
Easily, I would be the one getting sued.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
we try not to take our kids to fast food. I mean, they've had Chick-fil-A, but I remember one time, this was a couple years ago now, we drove by, I don't remember what fast food joint it was, but maybe Burger King, but definitely something that I would have never taken my kids to. And they are like, oh, there's, we'll just say Burger King. There's Burger King. I'm like, how do you know about Burger King? And it was Daddy took them for hash browns or something. So
I don't remember this at all.
I'm the bad influence with my kids too, right? So my kids will know like where Wendy's is at or Burger King, and my wife's like, when did you learn of this? And they're like, and of course my oldest now rats me out on everything, So I'm easily the worst offender when it comes to food choices, but it's also delicious. So.
Well, and on that note, this will be the last point. McDonald's was my first job when I was 14. So I worked at the McDonald's in the mall, and I thought I was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
But and I ate the food. But now knowing what I know now, I probably would try to stay away. So, well, Jeremy, thank you again for being on From Courtroom to Carline, a legal parenting podcast. And we hope that you like and subscribe.